A big-time trade in the NFL happened just a couple of hours ago. And I was thinking about starting this show talking about the trade, telling you what was given up, who went where, etc., etc. I'll tell you that Deshaun Watson went to Cleveland. I will tell you that part of it. But I'm not going to jump into the football right away. Because the more I thought about this situation, the more I kept coming back to one number. The number I kept coming back to was 22. And I just couldn't shake that number. Thinking about Watson as a Brown, thinking about the football, thinking about the trade package, I just kept going back to that number, 22. And in good conscience, I could not start this show today talking football and talking about how Deshaun Watson is going to help the Cleveland Browns on the field without first addressing what needs to be addressed first and foremost about this story. What needs to be the lead, as they say with newspapers, what needs to be the lead is that the Cleveland Browns today sold their soul. As simple as that. They sold their soul. 22 women. Sexual assault allegations against an elite quarterback. A quarterback that almost every single team in the NFL would want to have on their roster. 22 women. Allegations that are very similar from one to the next, to the next, to the next, down the line for all 22. And the Browns looked at every single one of those allegations. They looked at the fact that there are no settlements involved with any of these cases. And they said to themselves, this is what we want to do. They sold their soul. Because in the NFL, talent trumps all. It's a lesson we've learned over and over and over again, right? Adrian Peterson. All of these names. Greg Hardy. I can go on and on. You know the list. Even when we talk about a kicker with the Giants, talent trumps all. And the Browns are just the latest team to thumb their nose about a serious situation and very serious allegations because their only focus is to add talent to their football team. That's it. No matter how you feel about it, no matter if you're female or male, it doesn't matter. What matters to the Cleveland Browns right now today is winning football games. So they're willing to give up picks, which we'll talk about later. But not only are they willing to give up picks, they were today willing, and this is why the trade was made. If you're wondering, this is how the trade was made a done deal. You know what happened? Deshaun Watson talked to all of these teams, talked to 4 teams, Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Cleveland. He talked to all 4 teams. We heard yesterday that it was down to the Saints and the Falcons. It was between one of those 2 teams, right? Cleveland was out, Carolina was out. All of a sudden, Cleveland was back in. Why was that? Because of money. Makes the world go round, y'all. It was because of money. Because not only were the Browns willing to give up 3 first-round picks and a couple of other picks for Watson. No, the Browns were also willing to walk into the room and hand over Deshaun Watson $230 million. And I'm not talking about funny money. I'm not talking about fluff. I'm talking about legit guaranteed cash. The Browns traded the assets they traded, and they handed $230 million guaranteed. $230 million guaranteed to Watson. And if that's not going to turn your stomach enough, because maybe you're fine with that, I want to tell you something else about this deal. There's all these different things you can do in sports with contracts, right? The Bobby Bonilla contract, that paid him forever. Ken Griffey Jr., I just read over the past couple of weeks, is the 6th highest paid Red. And he hasn't played baseball in forever. There's all these little funny, quirky things you can do with contracts, and especially in the NFL. That's why we call it funny money, right? When we talk about contracts, we always talk about the first 3 years. How much money is in the first 3 years? How much money is guaranteed? You want to know what trick the Browns played today to get this deal done? Which is the most sickening, repugnant, disgusting part of this entire thing. the Browns found a loophole. What was the loophole, you ask? Well, the Browns gave Watson $230 million guaranteed. And in this coming year, his salary, get ready for this, his base is $1 million. You want to know why? Now, some might say, well, of course, it's a low base. You give him a $1 million base salary, Nick. You can go out there, you can sign other guys. You've got cap space. No, this isn't about cap space. This isn't about acquiring other players. You know what this is about? It's about one thing, getting Deshaun Watson his money. That's all it's about. And I'll tell you why. Let's say the NFL suspends Deshaun Watson. There's going to be a fine that goes along with that. Do you know how the NFL fines the players? They fine them by game checks. They fine the players by base salary. So if Watson gets suspended for 6 games, 8 games, if Watson loses the entire year because of that number, 22, if he loses the entire season because of all of those sexual assault allegations and the league decides to suspend him for the full year, Watson loses $1 million. One single solitary $1 million. Does that not make you sick? How do you think female fans feel right now? Do you know that NFL fans, 47% of them are female? I read that a year or two ago. I couldn't believe it. It's higher than I thought. 47% of NFL fans are female. How do you think female fans feel about this? When they see somebody who has been facing 22 sexual assault allegations, and yes, the grand jury came back, not enough evidence to take it to trial. I remind you, it doesn't mean the grand jury found him innocent. We said that last week on the Nick Cattle Show. I'll say it again on this Friday. That grand jury does not mean that Watson is innocent of anything that has been alleged. How do you think female fans, I can't tell you how they feel because the last time I checked, I'm a dude. I'm a dumb old caveman dude. How do you think this makes the female NFL fan feel right now? Somebody who has 22 sexual assault allegations on him. Not only does he get traded for this big bounty, which we'll talk about later, he also gets handed $230 million guaranteed. And on top of that, the team went out of its way and worked, there's no doubt about this, worked with Watson's agent to make sure he got as little of a financial penalty as he possibly could this coming year. How do you think that makes female fans feel? I'll tell you how it makes one female fan feel. I'll tell you how it makes one female Cleveland Browns fan feel, because I got a tweet from Amy M. Kennedy, 75 on Twitter at Nick C Radio. Here's what Amy tweeted. Browns fan my entire life and a sexual assault survivor. First of all, thank you for sharing that. Amy says, part of my soul died with this trade. I cannot root for a team with such an obvious lack of integrity, morals, and respect for women. Now, that's not all female fans. I'm not going to get it twisted. I'm sure some female fans will justify this in some kind of way. But talent trumps all. And I was thinking about a video clip that I saw earlier this week from Greg Rosenthal on the NFL Network. And this clip stood out to me because out of all of the voices that have been screaming about Watson and a Watson trade and talking about the football of it all, Greg Rosenthal on the NFL Network stood out to me because he was one of the only guys that asked a serious and significant question and wondered aloud how this was going to be handled once the Watson trade happened. Here was Rosenthal.
I've talked to a lot of the women in my life, women that work for NFL teams, women in sports media have been disgusted kind of by this whole process. And it's been a lot of talk about how we sell teams, that is, what they're going to do to get Deshaun Watson. And I haven't heard anything about what Deshaun Watson is doing to sell himself to those teams. I'm curious how he's going to address the civil allegations that are ongoing, because when he won the court case last week, we saw on Twitter his first public comments and his agent's first public comments in a long time, and it was celebration. It was essentially spiking the football. It was a total lack of remorse, and I think teams are overlooking what their fans are going to feel right now.
A total lack of remorse. Is Watson going to show any kind of remorse or contrition? Is he going to handle the questions that he gets during this big old introductory press conference he's going to get with all of the fixings, right? All the bells and whistles. Welcome Deshaun to Cleveland. When he gets the questions about the 22 women who say he sexually assaulted them, is he going to handle those questions seriously? Is he going to handle those questions with any kind of contrition? Is he going to go out of his way to make a statement about sexual assault victims? Is he going to do any of that? Or is he going to just say, well, I've been found innocent? Like when he was at the courthouse during the grand jury, right? Deposition, he comes out, I'm ready to play football. Is he going to handle any of this? Understanding the gravity of what's happening here? Or is this going to be continued to be swept under the rug by the Browns, by Watson, and by the NFL? And I just have a simple question, maybe two, for the Browns right now. Was it worth it? Is it going to be worth it? Can a title, can a Super Bowl championship possibly justify what you've done today? If you can lay down and put your head on the pillow and sleep fine tonight, says a lot about you, the Cleveland Browns. Because if I were running a team, he would not be on my roster. And I'll tell you right now, if I worked for a team, if I cheered for a team that did this, what the Browns did today, I'd be sick to my stomach. I want your thoughts.